first started, my rookie season, we literally had to go get a DVD from the Roush library and play it in my little DVD player on the plane and kind of watch and make notes. But now we've got all that stuff in the cloud. We've got analytics for the restarts and who made this position up and what lane they chose and how many laps were on their tires and how much fuel they had. And you've got the S&T data that shows, where guys are lifting, where guys are shifting at. And so there's just so much more available for us to look at. And the manufacturers do a really good job of kind of harnessing that data to look at it. And that's the case in any sport. I mean, gosh, you look at any other sport and they know who's going to swing at a curveball and who's going to, stand there for the first pitch. So, yeah, our sport's no different. We kind of know what others will tend to do based off of their history, and that helps us make better decisions.
Do you go in expecting overtime?
Yes, yeah. I think in the last several years down here, we've had multiple cautions in the final 20 laps, and the drivers just don't have any patience, and they lose a little respect those final 10 laps. I think we could still have good races if the drivers would give just a little bit more, because it is terrible to see all those race cars get torn up, and I would love to see a nice, good green flag finish. The drivers don't like seeing all the wrecks, the owners don't, but once a guy pushes you a little hard or he doesn't lift, you're not going to lift. So it's a snowball. It takes a couple of knuckleheads to push it, and then everybody turns into knuckleheads at those final 10 laps.
You talked about how the duels can sometimes be unpredictable. Are there any nerves heading into qualifying tonight, knowing you're not one of the 36 starter teams?
Yeah, there's always some nerves that we just want to execute. We feel like we've got enough speed with our dark horse Ford Mustang that will be in really good shape to be one of those top couple of cars that are locked in on speed. But you just never know when you might have something go wrong, or the wind is always a big factor here at Daytona. Certainly in the evenings, you catch a different wind gust going down the back straightaway, and that's a tenth or a tenth and a half, and that could be the difference in qualifying 5th or 12th. And so it's the little things. I've got to hit my shifts. I've got to do the things that I need to do leaving pit road. Our guys have got to make sure we get through tech and we don't have any issues. So yeah, there's some details that we've got to manage, but we do feel pretty good about it.
Is the dark horse bumper any different front and back?
Very little.
Okay.
The Ford Mustangs have always had a pretty symmetrical, smoother front rear bumper. And that's allowed the cars to push a little more, even receive a push better. So they do have a little different character lines here and there, but I think generally they're very similar.
In a couple of years, you've done the part-time starts after you retired for full-time. Have you noticed kind of like changes in how these races at Daytona and Talladega are run, especially since you mentioned about how there's a lot of overtimes and there's a lot of carnage nowadays?
I think it's been pretty similar the last few years. I feel like that, stage racing has amped up the excitement in the middle parts of the races. I think that's encouraged guys to be more aggressive, to get those valuable bonus points and a playoff point if you can win the stages. So that's changed the dynamic a little bit. But the series and the competitors are so close from a performance standpoint that the days 10 years ago where you could be running 20th with 10 to go and be able to make the moves and get to the front, that those days are over. Everyone is so close. You've got to keep that track position. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, that a guy running 5th, 6th, and 7th, they know how important it is to stay in that lead group, that they don't want to give up any track position. And then you've got the guys that are aggressive. They feel the sense of urgency. If they're running 10th or 12th with just a handful of laps to go, that they know they've got to go and that they can't be complacent either.
And I apologize if you've been asked this before, but how did this deal with RFK come about, especially, and how big is it to return to the team where you drove for several years and scored your first win?
Yeah, it's really big to come back to Daytona with a team that has a track record here like RFK, winning races. Brad's led the most laps in the Daytona 500 the last 2 years in a row, so that they've really done a nice job at all the racetracks, but certainly the speedways. And BuildSubmarines.com, that they're one of their anchor partners throughout the whole season for Chris's car and for Brad's car. That they've got a great, campaign to recruit a lot of men and women to help, build the U.S. naval submarine fleet. And there's no better place to get that message out and drive some young men and women to BuildSubmarines.com. So yeah, toward the end of last year, that they were talking about what their plans were going to be for 2024, and they really wanted a car in Daytona. And I'm very grateful that they allowed me to be a part of it.
Have there been any discussions about doing further races this season, or is it just Daytona?
Yeah, well, we've had some small talk. I think we need to get through Daytona first and kind of see what my schedule looks like, and make sure my wife and kids don't have any other big plans for me. But you certainly want to be an asset to a team like RFK. You don't want to try to run too much and pull resources away from those two teams. They're going to be racing for a championship, so they need to do it in the right way and make sure that that we can. So I would be open for a race or two, but I'll let the full-time guys have the full-time rides.
Thank you.
This is Harrison Burton, driver the number 21. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, check out one of these two videos beside me. Visit frontstretch.com for more racing content.